What's going on, people? Today I'll be reviewing Hellboy, coming up for you guys next. So, Hellboy was directed by Neil Marshall, and it stars David Harbour, Mila Jovovich, Ian McShane, and Sasha Lane. So if you are a regular to this channel, you will know that I truly do love Guillermo del Toro and all of his films, and especially the two Hellboy films that he made pretty much a decade ago. They're just fun action flicks that are very well acted, especially Ron Perlman as Hellboy. He is such a standout there. He just gives that character such life, and the way that he was able to convey everything that he was able to convey through all of that latex and makeup that made him Hellboy. It's an amazing acting job by a great actor. For me, coming into this, David Harbour, he had very big shoes to fill as the role of Hellboy, just because, I just really enjoyed Ron Perlman's take on the character so much. And then, reviews came out about this movie, and this got slammed. A lot of it had to do with the gore of this film and how unnecessary it was, and just how tonally that didn't fit in this movie. And I just want to address that first, just to get that out of the way. I feel like one thing that people aren't talking about is the fact that this property switched hands in between that last Hellboy movie that Del Toro made and now. Paramount made those first two Hellboy films, and that company makes a wide variety of films that don't necessarily skew towards horror, but they have, of course, done horror films. And now this property has actually gone to Lionsgate Films, and they generally skew towards a lot of horror films and a lot of gory horror films, and they all have a very gory, bloody aesthetic to them. Even when they acquired the Rambo films, that was just a gory film, and the first three Rambos weren't that gory, but as soon as Lionsgate got it, there it was. And you could say the same thing about The Punisher. As soon as Lionsgate got the rights to the second Punisher film, well, the second official Punisher film, the one with Ray Stevenson, same thing. Now, getting into what I thought about this movie, it's a mixed bag, but I will start with the good because there is some good here. David Harbour still makes a pretty good Hellboy. Is he as good as Ron Perlman? I wouldn't say that he is. There is humor in this movie that doesn't land for me as much as those previous Guillermo del Toro movies, but beyond that, David Harbour still makes his own way and his own path into creating a very likable character that carries you throughout his journey, and he is definitely the standout performance in this movie. You are always charmed by him, and you just genuinely, he's still a child at heart, and you can see that, and so much of the likability of this character still comes through in Harbour's performance. I do have to credit him a lot because he is saddled with a pretty bad script with bad dialogue at times that can feel very clunky, but he shines through that. And I feel like Ian McShane got the real short end of the stick here as far as bad dialogue is concerned, but he is another one that shines through it. I feel like he is saddled with a lot of expository dialogue that is just there to explain thing after thing after thing, and all of them mythology in this movie, it feels very muddled, and a lot of it is up to him to explain to the audience in person, and sometimes, like the beginning of this movie, even in voiceover, but he shines through all of that. And I definitely, as the movie went on, saw the warmth with his character and his love for Hellboy. It is a different take than John Hurt's character in the original Hellboy films, but I still went with it, and I really like Ian McShane as an actor, and this is why, because he can take a role that could be bad and he can really perfect it and find the heart behind it. Our director here, Neil Marshall, he came from a horror background. If you don't know what he's done before, he did The Descent back in the day, over a decade ago, and from that point he made some B movies and directed some big Game of Thrones episodes, so he definitely knows creature design, and it shows. I do like a lot of the creature design that happens here. Some of it comes through worse than others just because of the fact that this is a $50 million budget with a quite a substantial amount of CGI, so some of it actually comes across really kind of bad. There is a pig character in this movie, like a half pig, half man character, and pretty much all of the CGI with that character is bad. But the actual design behind it, and the design behind all the creatures here, I definitely saw what they were going for with the more of a horror vibe with these characters, and I went with it, and I grew to kind of like it in a B-movie pulpy kind of way. And so the creature designs here are pretty damn good. And the fight scenes. I know a lot of people have a problem with how much blood and gore come through in the fight scenes. And I will say that, yes, the rest of the movie does not feel like that B-movie pulp. And it only really comes in through these action scenes with a lot of the blood and the guts, and like a lot of the creature designs that I just talked about. Look, this movie's tone is all over the place, and I am not going to try to hide that from you guys. It is all over the place. But what I will say is, if you look past that, you will get some decent action and blood and gore. If you're a blood and gore kind of guy, you're definitely going to get it here, and I grew to kind of going with it. And that is something that I actually appreciated about this iteration of Hellboy. Hey, at least this version is going to go for it. And I know some people are saying, why remake Hellboy? What is its purpose? Well, it is going to give you something new, and this more horror take is what it's bringing to the table, if you are willing to accept it or not. At times, it does take things too far, like with our Baba Yaga character that is in this movie. Look, that is a gross character that they came up with, creepy character that they came up with. I won't spoil anything about it, but I will just say that that particular scene, I can see where a lot of people are complaining, where it pushes things too far. And for me, it wasn't a big deal, but I am just warning people that might be the pushing point for you, where you say, I'm not going to take anymore. And you would, I wouldn't disagree with you. The scene before this didn't really lead you to believe that you were going to be getting the Baba Yaga scene in this movie that you do. And the scene doesn't actually fit in the movie itself. And a matter of fact, it actually feels like it's a precursor to what they want to build with its second film. And that is unfortunate that they felt like they needed to be saddled with it here, but they did. This movie's tone is all over the place. It's a mess. You can literally tell that this movie was just cut up in editing. And, that's unfortunate, but you definitely see parts where they have just cut out how characters got from point A to point B, and they just instead insert a line of dialogue, and there you go. They are in such and such a place. And on top of that, there is a lot of mythology in this film. And I wouldn't initially think that they would get even deeper into mythology than those two Guillermo del Toro films, but guess what? They do, and it is a mess. It is just a whole lot of expository dialogue that is just being told to you and not shown. Man, this movie and the way that it wants to dole out its story is just a mess, and there is no other way to say it other than that. And then on top of that, the way that it wants to give you the backstory of some of the side characters here, I didn't really feel like I needed it, but they want to tell it to you, and even that is a mess. Literally, there are like 5 or 6 flashback scenes in this movie, and every single one of them is excruciatingly painful. It just doesn't feel like it's necessary, and that it just fits. Milla Jovovich, I like her as an actress. I just don't really like the projects that she picks and the roles that she picks for herself. And guess what? This movie is not going to change my mind on that. She has a lot of expository dialogue to explain to the audience here, and she does not do it in the same way that Ian McShane does, and she doesn't come out as clean here. I feel like her character is messy, and it's the type of character that we've seen a million times before. It's not a whole lot new, and I just wish that this movie would kind of get to the point quicker with her character, just so it can kind of be over with, and so she wouldn't be saddled with what she's saddled with here, and allow her to have more fun with this role. But she wants to, she just can't with what's written here, and she doesn't know how to elevate the material. The humor here is odd, to say the least. A lot of the jokes fall flat, and it just solidifies how bad this movie was scripted and really just tonally all over the place. That is the damning blow to this movie. If you wanted to make a gory, bloody, horror Hellboy film, fine, I'll go with that, but just stick with that tone, and I don't feel like they did here. And that is why I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10, and it kills me. And so coming up next on the channel, unfortunately, I haven't gotten to reviewing the 4K version of Aquaman and Bumblebee. I am going to be filming that really damn soon and getting that to you guys and all caught up. So when Glass comes out, I will be reviewing that as well. If you are excited about all of that, make sure you subscribe, comment down below, let me know about that, man. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. You guys are awesome. I don't need to say it because you know it, and I will see all of you next time.